Okay, so we talked about the difference of projects, programs, and portfolios. And we covered as well what a project charter is, what its purpose is, and what's involved in putting together a project charter. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about the different tools that you can use to select projects. I'm going to talk about two tools in particular, which are very commonly used. Let's say you have a bank of projects in front of you. How do we know which one we should do next? Which is the right one for us to pursue next? We can start with a SWOT analysis. A SWOT essentially stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And an important distinction you need to make here is that when you're talking about strengths and weaknesses, you're thinking internally to the organization. What are our strengths and weaknesses? When you talk about opportunities and threats, you're thinking externally. The opportunities and threats external to the project, external to the organization. So, as an example, we can say when assessing this bank of projects, we're assessing each project separately. For this one project, one of our strengths would be is that it aligns really, really well with our team's skill set. Our team is really, really good at developing e-commerce websites. This project would be great to take on next. A weakness could be, for example, that yes, they are great at it, but we have limited staff availability over the next quarter. It's summer, there's a lot of vacations going. This project may have, a quick turnaround time. It needs to be done quickly, and we just don't have enough people. If you'll notice, both the strengths and weaknesses here are internal to the project, internal to the organization. When we talk about opportunities, now we're thinking externally, we can say, okay, for this project, for example, once we implement project management software that we can start using, we could start delivering better results on our projects going forward. It can better improve our metrics. It can better improve our competitiveness with other organizations. By learning how to use project management software, we can become more competitive in the market. We're thinking externally. When you talk about threats, you're also thinking externally. What if there are legal requirements in place that prevent me from pursuing this project? Are there any government regulations in place that will affect the way I do this project or the results that could come out of this project? You're trying to think externally here. So a really, really effective way of evaluating projects. And even more effective than that is another tool called the weighted scoring model. It's a very, very popular tool, and popular because it's easy to use and really effective. A very, very simple tool to use. So what you're going to do is you're going to start by listing on the left here the bank of all the projects that you would like to pursue. This is the bank that you're going to select which project you're going to pursue next. At the top, you're going to say, right, so for all these projects, I need to assess them on the same criteria consistently throughout. So I need to define some criteria. So you're going to sit down with the team who is going to be deciding which project to pursue next. You're going to sit down with your team there and say, okay, let's define some criteria that we're going to use to assess these projects. So I've chosen some criteria here, such as business value, how much it's going to cost us, so cost impact, what's the risk involved, and what's the impact of not doing. This is a really important criteria that a lot of teams tend to forget. It's easy to say, what's the risk involved? What's the cost involved? How long will this take? Easy to develop all this criteria working towards which project we should pursue next. But we tend to forget what's the impact of not doing this project. So a project may have little business value. It may have really, really high costs associated with it. But if I don't do this project, then the results could be detrimental. It could be the destruction of the entire organization. That means I must go with it, right? So really important to make sure that you have that impact of not doing criteria in there. Now, you're going to decide on these criteria with your team. And once you've done so, you're going to assign weights to each criteria. So you're going to say that business value, I'm going to weight at 20%. And these numbers are completely arbitrary. I just pulled them out of thin air. Cost impact, that one is important to me. I'm going to put it in as weighing 40%. You need to make sure that all your weights add up to 100%. You go through and assign weights to each criteria. Once you're done, you're going to set a scale. So you've defined your project bank, you've defined your criteria, you've defined the weight of each criteria. You're now going to set a range. You're going to say, I'm going to rate each project against each criteria on a range of 1 to 5, let's say, 1 to 10, your choice. So based on a range of 1 to 5, project 1 has a business value of 4. Cost impact of 2, it's not going to cost us much. Risk of 3, and the impact of not doing is very low. We're going to put it at 1. Go through and you rate it with your team. And you do this for every project against every criteria. Once you're done, you're going to take the ratings that you've given for every project under every criteria and simply multiply it by the percentage. So we said that project 1 has a business value of 4. We're going to take 4 multiplied by 20% or 0.2. Once you have that number, you add up. I'm going to use my cursor here to show you. You're going to add up the rating, the final rating of project 1. So 4 multiplied 20% plus the multiplication result of project 1 against cost impact, plus against risk, plus against impact of not doing, and you're going to arrive at a total weight. So the rating multiplied by the weight, plus the rating multiplied by the weight again, and again, and again, gives you a total weight. And you do this for each project separately, and then you compare the weights. The one with the highest weight is the one you should proceed with next. Very, very effective way of weighing projects. So once you have your weighted scoring model performed and in place, what you could attach to it, and a lot of organizations find it useful to do so, is what we call MOSCO. Must, should, could, would. And usually you find it at the end of a weighted scoring model table. You can even use MOSCO separately from anything else. You can use it as a tool on its own if you'd like. And it's very, very simple. You basically list your projects on the left, and then you rate each project against each other to say, okay, project 1, must I do it? Or should I do it? Could I do it? Or would I do it? And the difference basically ranges in priority. Must do is something that must happen right now. It's almost like the effect of the impact of not doing. I must do it right now. Should do it is, okay, it's not absolute top priority, but it does need to be done. Could, again, you're going down in priority. I could do this project. It's on my list, not that high in priority. I could do it. Would, sometime in the future, maybe we'll get to it. You rate each project separately under must, should, could, would, and you can even use MOSCO as a tool separate from SWOT, separate from the weighted scoring model. A lot of times you'll see it put at the end of the weighted scoring model just as some additional info, because it's really, really useful, and it provides a very easy way to get a quick glance on project priorities. All right, we'll stop it here. I'll see you on the next one.